All right, welcome to the Sooner Surge. And before we get started with this video, click the subscribe button, join the Sooner Surge, be a part of what's going on here at the Sooner Surge as we provide content on all sports Sooner related, whether it be baseball, softball, football, and today, special edition, we got a basketball preview for this season. Brody's going to break it all down for us. And so, Brody, thanks for joining here today. And just, man, it's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, I think just a little over 3 weeks away from the Central Michigan game. Probably we'll have an exhibition game, maybe in 2 weeks, something like that. You got media days this week, secret scrimmage versus Mississippi State. That happened this weekend. So it's really, getting close to Moser's third season.
Yeah, big season for Porter Moser as well. Third season, hasn't made the tournament yet. I would think that's a big thing that they have to have happen this year. So, with that being said, got some returners from last year, and then we got a whole slew of newcomers. So, I know Sooner fans may not know many of these names that you're going to be breaking down for us. So this will be a great time as you watch this, guys, that Brody will break it down, talk about the strengths of these players, what you can look forward to this year. So let's start with the you want to start with the returning players?
Yeah, we can start with the returners. And the biggest returner coming back is the team captain, Milos Uzan. Last year, he started in 24 out of 32 games as a true freshman playing in the Big 12, playing 28 minutes in the Big 12. He averaged 7.6 points, 3 assists, and he shot the ball at 40% from three-point range, right? 6'4", 193, that's the prototype you want in an NBA point guard. 6'4", that's great height. You don't find many 6'4" people with the ability to pass like he does, right? And Moser said that there's been multiple scouts checking in on Milos Uzan, which is a great sign. So I think Uzan's prime for a breakout year, and I mentioned his 40% shooting percentage from the three-point range. The problem with that, not a problem, but he was only attempting 2.2 shots from behind the arc, and he was only attempting 6.3 shots a game. This season, we'll talk about this more, but Milos Uzan is going to have to shoot the ball more. He's going to have to score the ball more. That's really the area that you want to see him improve. And then you've got Otega Owe, right? The other returning freshman who started games for the Sooners last year. He's 6'5", 215, started the last 9 games of the season, averaged 4.8 points, and most importantly, 1.2 steals per game. He was very active defensively, very aggressive, very athletic. That's the part of Owe that you have there, athletic. Moser was on the ref a couple weeks ago, and he said that Owe is elite at getting the ball into the paint, right? That's where he succeeds. Now, he only attempted 4 3-pointers last season. It didn't seem like his jump shot was really there where you want it. So you'd like to see Owe, if he can maybe start that to get that jump shot to go, hey, he could be in for a massive season, much like fellow sophomore Milos Uzan.
Yeah, those are two guys that have huge impacts this coming year. And, Uzan as a sophomore to be the leader of the team and to have so much put on his plate, I think just bodes how well he is and how good talented he is. And, he had a great year as a freshman, one of the most consistent players on the team last year. So it'd be interesting to see how he does. And also Otega Owe, just athletic freak. And I think viewers, as you watch this, what you're going to notice, the athleticism from this team, it's by far and away going to be the best athleticism that Porter Moser has had. So before we get into more than some newcomers, let's keep going with some of the other guys from last year returning. Sam Godwin.
Yeah, he's on scholarship now, right? Uzan, I think we can both agree, was a surprise last year, how well he played as a true freshman. But the biggest surprise last year was how well Sam Godwin played as a walk-on, right? And he's sneaky athletic. This year he's put on some weight, 6'10", 235, right? Played in all 32 games, 4.9 points per game, and shot incredibly efficient, 66% from the field, right? There was a lot of games where Godwin was the best big that the team had. And there was games where he seemed to be outmatched physically, right? But Sam Godwin, I think a lot of people are really sleeping on how much of an impact he is going to have this season. And we'll talk about that more once we get into rotation projections. But he's really going to make an impact. And I've heard that he's really been looking good in practice so far.
Yeah, a guy that had a lot better year than people thought. And even in some some games where you think he would be outmatched, he played pretty well. So we'll see. Then Luke Norweather.
Yeah. Norweather and Yaya Keita, those are two returners who didn't play last season. Norweather redshirted, and that was just to get him physically up to speed and, work on his lateral quickness and just things like that. Then you have Yaya Keita who missed due to a shin surgery that he had to have. He missed the whole season. With Norweather, it's very interesting, though, because he's 6'11", 245, and Porter Moser said he's the best shooter on the team. And they've got some good shooters. We'll talk about that once we get into the transfers. But he says he's an elite shooter at 6'11", an elite shooter. And guys, the best shooter on the team, that'll play. Like Norweather's going to play this year.
Yeah, and being 6'11", you talk about pick and pop game. I mean, he's got it. OU ran that a lot last year with Tanner Groves, and the consistency from Tanner Groves from behind the arc wasn't there. Norweather's the guy that can knock that down, whether it be in transition, whether it be pick and pop. He can take a guy out to the 3-point line. That's a big deal.
And he's 6'11". That's very hard to contest someone who's 6'11" shooting threes, right?
Right.
So there's a ton of potential there. He's the Gatorade Player of the Year in Missouri, his senior season. Man, if he could really be a rotational piece for the Sooners, that would be massive, right? Yaya Keita, wild card. I don't know what we're gonna get there with Keita. It's pretty up in the air. There's been a lot of clips that Oklahoma has posted on Twitter where you've seen him. Maybe he'll play a lot this year. Who knows? Right now, it's just a wild card. But he didn't play last year. He was at Missouri before he transferred to Oklahoma. So those are your 5 returners. Again, Milos Uzan, Otega Owe, Sam Godwin, Luke Norweather, and Yaya Keita.
Yeah, so there you have it. There's your returning Sooners. And you look at those 5, really only 2, I would say, until the end of the year contribute. I mean, you talk about Godwin and Uzan as far as really big contributors throughout most of the year. Otega Way was late, came on, but not a whole lot of production-wise other than Uzan as far as points, right? I mean, you talk about Godwin, 4.9, I think. So,
Yes.
They're missing a lot of production. So, obviously, that's going to have to come from somewhere. And Porter went portaling. And, boy, did he bring in a crop, Brody.
Yeah, it all starts with the number 11th best transfer in the class. Not number 11th in the Big 12, number 11 in all the country. Javen McCollum, right? From Siena. Last season, it was his sophomore year at Siena. He played in 27 games, started 25 games, averaged 15.9 points, 3.9 assists, shot 35.6% from behind the arc. And he had a very high usage percentage at 28. He was playing 30 minutes a game for Siena. Porter Moser compared him to Hollis Price, and he said McCollum, he's the fastest player he's had since he's been at Oklahoma. And I've heard a lot of things on McCollum going to be one of the best guards in the country. Multiple people have said that. And McCollum, I've seen him in mock drafts going in the first round. He's 6'2", 160, but he's got incredible speed, incredible scoring. He's going to be the most electrifying player that has played in the LNC since Trae Young. Him and Milos Uzan, that's going to make one backcourt duo. And bringing in McCollum was a massive get for Moser. It really can't be like he's someone who will go and get you 30 any night. He scores truly from all 3 levels and has elite range from behind the arc. I mean, Trae Young would pull it from the logo. That's what McCollum can do.
So, compare his game to Grant Sherfield last year. Just compare his type of play. Different player, more, would you say more free as far as shooting?
Yeah, more athletic, better shooter, more range, I'd say.
Way quicker.
Way faster and quick. Yeah. Better defensively, too. He's very aggressive defensively, which kind of fits the way, Moser likes defensive players. He had a lot, I mentioned his steal, 1.1 steals is fairly high, right? So that's a big addition. He will be going to Big 12 Media Days with Milos Uzan and Porter Moser, and then Latrey Darthard, another transfer as well. So McCollum's going to be in for a massive season this year. We'll talk more about how good Oklahoma's backcourt will be later on.
Yeah, so, and you mentioned another transfer portal, Darthard.
Yeah. Dart Hard was all whack defensive team last season. He's and a lot of people want like 6'4", 190, started all 37 games for them, 13.8 points per game, 1.2 steals per game. And he is an elite defender and a very good shooter at the same time, right? He's an energy guy. He'll bring in energy, great shooter, great defender, which is, the most important thing. He's elite at getting to the rack, right? The amount of free throws he attempted last season, he was attempted 4.1 free throws a game last year, and he had one game where I think he attempted 16 of them. So he's very good at getting to the line, very good at scoring the ball, and is very good defensively. He's a point guard. Javen McCollum, he'll play the 1 and 2. Dart Hard, you can see him playing the 1 and 2 as well. So this one's a big addition just because of how good he is defensively and offensively, and he brings experience. He's a senior. He played at Utah Valley last season.
Yeah, another big pickup from Porter there, and like you said, kind of a slasher, kind of
Yeah.
into the lane and stuff. So another good get guard wise. The guards, the guard depth and the guard kind of 1-2 positions looking totally different than last year, which I think is great. Just kind of go through the portal list and who else we got.
Yeah, also Latrey Darhart, very athletic as well, which you want to see.
Yeah, very athletic.
Another one is Jalen Moore from Georgia Tech. This is his junior season. He's 6'7", 222, but he plays bigger than his height and weight is listed.
He's the one you see on the highlight.
On the highlights, yes.
He's always above the rim.
Freakishly athletic, the most athletic on the team, I'd say. Right, he played in 32 games last year for Georgia Tech, started 15, 7.6 points per game, averaged 0.9 blocks per game. He did only shoot 11% from behind the arc, but he didn't attempt too many threes. His jump shot, that's going to be where you want to see Moore make the most impact. He's an elite rebounder, very athletic, great at getting to the rim, but his jump shot last year wasn't the best. Now, his jump shot, as far as it's concerned, it's pretty good form. He's just not knocking him down. You want to see him be able to put the ball in the hoop, and he's going to be a massive player for the Sooners this year. Jalen Moore, freakishly athletic, great defensively, great rebounder, but he plays bigger than that 6'7" height that he's listed at. And then you've got John Hughley, Big John, right, from Pittsburgh. Now last year he only played in 8 games, but his junior season, or 2021 season, he played in 32 games and started 31 for Pittsburgh. He was the best player on that team. 14 points per game, 7.9 rebounds per game. He was very good for Pittsburgh. Averaged 47% from the free throw or from the field goal range, and shot 71% from behind or from free throw range. Right, Hughley, he's a monster. Porter Moser mentioned Elton Brand when talking about John Hughley, and he's someone who he's going to do his damage in the paint. He's not really a pick and pop guy. He'll do his damage in the paint. He can knock down the three, but he's one of those guys you bring in. Eddie Lampkin last year for TCU,
back to the basket
type of player. And that's another one you'd consider that a big addition. We'll talk about Hughley in the breakdown of the rotation prediction. You've got Rivaldo Soares. Now, Oklahoma hired Armon Gates from Oregon. Rivaldo Soares came with them. This is a guard/wing, 6'5", 215. And by the way, John Hughley is 6'10", 275. But I maybe a little bit more than 275 would be my guess. But Rivaldo Soares played in 36 games for Oregon, started 33 of them, 7.2 points per game. He's just kind of like a do-it-all player. Swiss Army knife is the best word I'd use for Rivaldo Soares. He can play the 2, the 3, and the 4, and you're going to see him kind of do a lot of everything. He'll knock down the 3, catch and shoot-wise, but off the dribble, he's not very good at shooting. At least last year he wasn't. He's good at driving and is good in transition. And that transition is kind of a theme throughout a lot of these portal additions. Javen McCollum and Trey Darthard, Jalen Moore, Rivaldo Soares all thrive in transition. But Soares has played a lot of college basketball. This will be his last year. He brings experience to other than, a couple portal additions as a rather young team. So I think that's a solid one. He'll play a lot of minutes for the Sooners this year. And then you have the last portal addition, Max Klanjacek from Houston Christian. He's been at about 4 different colleges, started all 32 games for Houston Christian, which, by the way, was a terrible team last year. He's 6'5", 190, guard, 15 points per game, and he shot 35% from behind the arc. That's really where he does his damage, is behind the arc. He played 32 minutes a game for Houston Christian, so he has played a lot of college basketball. But yeah, that's who Moser brought in through the portal.
Yeah, so you mentioned all those guys, and we're going to talk about roster kind of depth projections in a little bit. But real quick, I want to say something. Also, while we're at the portal, mention who they lost to the portal.
Yeah,
so just so Sooner fans know, like, this person's not there anymore.
Jalen Hill is gone. He left Bijan Cortez, CJ Nolan, Jacob Groves, and am I missing anyone? Benny Schroeder as well. Yeah. But this is where, and we mentioned the newcomers. We didn't mention all of them. 2 more. Caden Cooper. He is a top 50 freshman, 4-star, out of Ada, Oklahoma originally, but he played in a school in Georgia last year. If he would have been at Ada, he would have been the number 1 player in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, highly recruited kid.
He's the biggest. When you look at rankings, he's the most highly rated player they've landed since Trae Young, but highest rated in the Porter Moser era. And another thing here, he's athletic, super athletic. He's the best. A lot of people have said he's the best shot blocking wing they've ever seen. He's 6'5", 190. He's going to play a lot of ball for the Sooners. He's a 2-3. He'll be very good, and I've heard he's going to be, by the time he's done in Norman, he'll make a huge impact. Then you got Jacob Cole. He's a 4, 6'7", 211, and he can do it all, really. He's really good from behind the arc as a 4. He's a lefty, and he played on the Link Academy. They won the national championship nationally in high school basketball last year. So Jacob Cole, 4, he's not – I don't think he's as ready as Caden Cooper is, but, he'll be very good when he's done here in Norman as well. So that's the team this year. That's the 13 scholarship players they have.
Yeah, thank you. That's good. That's good stuff there. Hey, you've mentioned it to me, and I've seen you maybe post about it on Twitter. Is OU really going to play an up-tempo game this year? Is that something you're seeing that is, and you're hearing is going to happen? We've heard that as a rumor. Like, OU's going to be up-tempo. It's not the slowdown that Porter Moser's used to playing. Tell us about that for a little bit.
They're going to play up-tempo this year. It's going to be completely different. Fast-paced, and that's kind of why they brought in who they brought in. And Moser's pretty set on this, right? And he mentioned on the ref, he wants the guys to be able to run. That's how – because I think he realized, the pace of play he was playing with last year, that's just not going to work in the Big 12.
It wouldn't, but also who he had on the team wouldn't work to run the ball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but now you've got Javen McCollum.
Now you got dudes.
Milos Uzan and Jalen Moore. These guys can run, and that's going to be a common theme. And, I think that the pace of play is something that we will have to touch on as we go through this rotation prediction.
Yeah, and you mentioned Big 12 Media Days coming up this week. Milos Uzan, McCollum, and
Latrey Darhard.
Yeah, Darhard. So, are you surprised it's those 3, or is that who they're going to ride with as the top? I mean, those are 3 leaders, you think?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that Uzan's going, but it's a good sign for Javen McCollum and Latrey Darhard. That's really the biggest takeaway I have from that. Good sign for those 2 guys. I was thinking maybe Uzan, Owe, and Sam Godwin, but seeing that they're sending McCollum and Darhard, he doesn't surprise me there because he's played a lot of basketball. But it's good to see that those 2 guys are being leaders on this team. It's a good sign for them.
Yeah, so there you kind of have the guys on the roster, and now we're going to break it down by depth projections and kind of who you kind of see, Brody, as the starting 5, and then who's going to be on those rotations.
Yeah, well, starting 5, this may surprise some people. My starting 5 prediction, and I felt pretty good about this for a little bit. I got Milos Uzan, Javen McCollum, Otega Owe, Jalen Moore, and Sam Godwin as the starting 5 prediction.
Okay, so do you got Milos playing point or 2?
Yeah, Milos Uzan playing the 1. That's 1 through 5. Uzan, McCollum, Owe, Moore, and Sam Godwin. And Uzan and McCollum, in my opinion, that's a top 3 backcourt in the Big 12. And then you've got your athletes, Otega Owe and Jalen Moore. And I know the Sam Godwin one might surprise some people.
Yeah, I am a little surprised on Godwin, but I've heard kind of the same thing. So obviously, with that, let's kind of go from I don't know if you want to go from center to guard, but obviously Hughley, first one off the bench for Godwin. No,
Maybe, right? And here's the thing. The reason I predict Sam Godwin's going to start, I've kind of heard that Hughley's been struggling, just pace of play wise. As we mentioned, they want to play fast. Moser said it on the ref. They got to get him up to speed. So if Hughley can get up to speed, I think he's, the more talented guy. But in my opinion, I think Sam Godwin's going to start the year out as the starting center. But as far as the bench is concerned, I'd say Latrey Darthard is your sixth man. And I think you'll see a lot of a 3-guard lineup with Darthard, Uzan, and McCollum. And I'd like that a lot. I mean, Darthard's the lead defender. He's going to play a lot of minutes. He'll play starter minutes even if he's not starting, right? That's the big thing with Darthard. I think Rivaldo Soares would be right after him, 7th off the bench, or 2nd off the bench, 7th man, because he's a Swiss Army knife, can really do it all. I think they bring him in at the backup 4 for Jalen Moore. That would be my prediction there. And obviously, Darthard, you can kind of supplement him for both Uzan and McCollum. And then I'll go Caden Cooper, 8th, because he's so athletic and that type of athleticism plays. And then also, I don't really know where they're going to go after that. I mean, John Hughley, I know people.
Norweather.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's just like I'd probably say John Hughley or Luke Norweather, and maybe you should bump them up to right after Soares. But yeah, the way he's talking about Norweather and Hughley, really needing to get up to speed. I think they're going to play Hughley a lot. Maybe he'll work his way into the starting lineup. That would happen if he's able to get up to speed, and then you would just swap him and Sam Godwin, but. Him or Norweather, I think, or maybe they'll just play both, and maybe they'll do like a big man by committee. That's kind of how I see it working out with those 3 guys. But I think starting the year, they'll go kind of 10-man rotation with the starting 5 I mentioned, and then off the bench, Latrey Darthard, Rivaldo Soares, John Hughley, Caden Cooper, Luke Norweather. That's kind of the first 10, the way I see it. Then you have, your wild cards, Jacob Cole, Yaya Keita, and Max Klanjacek.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense to me as well. And who knows if they redshirt Cole, right? Probably just depends on how things are going. What's the upside for this team, Brody?
The upside, it's tough because they're in the Big 12, right? That makes it
brutal.
But in order for everything to work out, and I say you maybe need to see John Hughley be able to get up to speed, or you need to see Luke Norweather really start to – right, we need to see it with him. If Luke Norweather can really play a lot of minutes for this team, I think that takes the upside of this team a lot higher, right? Because 6'11", he has the wingspan, the shooting. But you need to see Jalen Moore, and you just want to see all the pieces to the puzzle kind of fit together. Because when you bring in a lot of transfers, you never know kind of how they're gonna gel. And from my understanding, it does look like the team chemistry is there, which is a good sign. But yeah, I'd like to see the upside for this team. I'd say this is I still think they're 1 year away from an elite team, but I'd say the upside. I think this is an Elite 8 roster if everything went to plan. And
so what would you say?
5th or 6th in the Big 12 if everything went to plan. 6th.
What would you say NCAA tournament-wise, seeding-wise, are you thinking? I know this is way early. I'm just –
yeah, if I was betting, I'd probably go like 10 or 9 probably. But I could easily see this team get into a 6 seed or a 5 seed. And it's just so difficult because the Big 12. But with the way their non-conference schedule is lined up, they have a lot of opportunities to really get some big wins. You got
That's true.
USC, Arkansas, Providence, North Carolina. So this team really, I mean, things need to go to plan, right? If things go to plan, hey, I could see them get to a 5 or maybe even a 4 seed.
Well, and you said their schedule. That's kind of where I was going to go next. I mean, obviously, you cannot have an opening game loss like they did last year to Sam Houston. But Schedule's tougher this year. The non-con schedule is brutal with those 4 teams you mentioned, but you need to go into Big 12 play with a pretty good record. I mean, because you got a brutal. I mean, you talk about the Big 12 is always tough. It's worse this year with Houston and some of these teams added on.
11-12 in non-conference would be great.
11-2.
Yeah, 11-2. Excuse me.
That I think 2 losses would be. I think that'd be a good non-con with those teams you mentioned.
I wouldn't be shocked if they went in 12-1. And Arkansas is going to be a test. North Carolina is going to be really a test. Providence will be really good. And, USC, that's going to be a massive game because there's going to be I don't even know if there'll be to count equivalent to however many cameras were on Travis Hunter and Colorado's game last night. That's how it's going to be at USC this year. They got Isaiah Collier, who's the number 1 player in the class last year, and LeBron James' son, Bronny James. So that's going to be one where a lot of people are tuned into that, and you're going to really have a chance to make something happen. But you got to beat Iowa first, and Iowa's probably going to be a tournament team as well. So there's just 5 teams on this schedule, non-conference-wise, who are going to provide Oklahoma with a tough test, but tough test always equals great opportunity for a great win, and that's a resume builder. So I'd say you need to go 11-2 heading into the Big 12.
Yeah, so there you kind of have the kind of schedule breakdown a little bit. We're not going to talk about Big 12 schedule. It's brutal. That's all we can say. I mean, it's brutal. And so just around the corner, they open up Central Michigan, you said. It's just 3 weeks away, I think, something like that, which is wild.
It is. It's a little over 3 weeks, and I'm hoping they'll announce an exhibition game sometime soon just because it's always kind of good to see what, the guys look like in that type of a game. But it's crazy how fast this is approaching. And, I like the way the non-conference schedule is set up because you have 4 games, which they're going to win the first 4 games. And you're really going to get to find some stuff out about your team. Then you go play that Rady Children's Invitational. You're going to have Iowa and then Seton Hall or USC. You come back, you got, the game in McCaslin Fieldhouse versus Pine Bluff. And then you got Providence and Arkansas back-to-back. That's really tough. Got a get-right game against Green Bay. Go play North Carolina, and then you got 2 get-right games before Big 12 conference play. So I think the schedule really is set up very well, but it's very tough, right? But that's the way you want it to be set up, the way it is.
Yeah. Brody, anything else specifically you want to touch on?
Yeah, one more thing I wanted to touch on is I've had some people ask who the XFactor is on this team. And in the spring, I would have said John Hughley, right? Just because you need a big. But it's really tough. And right now, I'd probably go with Jalen Moore as the X Factor. That might shock a lot of people. But when I say X Factor, maybe maybe people might have a different definition because some would say Uzan or McCollum, right? Or even John Hughley. X Factor, the way I'm saying this is if this player can really play up to the hype and put it all together, that's going to elevate Oklahoma's ceiling as much as anything. If Jalen Moore can play the way he's been talked about this offseason and can maybe start hitting some threes, he is going to take the Sooners team to the next level at the 4, right? He's very similar to Jalen Hill in a lot of ways, but way more athletic.
Yeah, and hey, make sure everybody subscribes to the channel. Brody's going to have a ton of basketball content throughout the year. And then also to the Twitter there, Sooner Surge. Follow that. A lot of stuff coming your way there. Before we close, I'd like to ask you some rapid-fire questions about the team.
Okay.
Quick answers and just kind of roll with it here. So these are your opinion, all right, as far as leading scorer on the team this year.
Javen McCollum.
Okay. Leading rebounder.
Jalen Moore.
Best shooter as far as 3 points made this year.
Javen McCollum.
Okay. Obviously, you probably think Milos Uzan leads in assist.
Yep.
Best defender on the team.
Latrey Darthard.
Okay. And then over or under 20 wins.
That's tough.
It's tough.
I'll take the over.
Over. All right. There you have it. Okay. And then one more question. Who do you think, in your opinion, the biggest surprise, not X Factor, biggest surprise this year will be? Like last year, I think you think of a guy like Godwin, right? who's just going to be the surprise guy this year?
I want to say Caden Cooper, but I don't think that'll be a surprise to everyone just because how highly rated he is. He'll surprise nationally, but I think to Oklahoma fans, it'll be Luke Norweather.
Nice. Well, there you have it, Sooner fans. Some basketball talk mid-October. Some great information there from Brody. Man, if you haven't subscribed, please do. Brody, you need to say something else?
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say kind of the layout of how I see, the basketball content on the Sooner Search
Yeah.
works is I think we'll have probably initial reaction videos after each game, but I want to do two, kind of, maybe this length, like 30 minutes after I've rewatched the game, full rewatch, watched it twice, then I'll say my opinion on it, and then we can preview the next game. So just something like that after each game. So you'll have your initial reaction and then, a pod after it's been, watched twice. So we're going to have tons of content on Oklahoma basketball. This is your premier place for basketball content, right, on YouTube.
Yeah.
But make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you can be notified for that as well.
Yeah, and like you said, premier place for it. Any of you softball fans know we provide softball content like crazy for y'all. Brody's going to be doing the same for basketball. And just looking forward to this year. I'm looking forward to Porter Moser having a great year. A lot of people have been on him. I think this is his year to shine. I think he's having a tremendous year. And I think the Sooners are going to make the tournament and get things turned around because we all know he's got a good class already. Couple guys coming in for the next season, right? So it's the future's looking bright. Just got to get through this year and make the tournament, I think. So thanks for watching, guys. As always, thanks for subscribing. Till next time, Boomer.
Boomer.